Are you looking for a super easy hair scrunchie tutorial just using scraps of yarn with only one tail to sew in? This tutorial is for you. Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this super cute hair scrunchie just using scraps of yarn with only one tail to sew in at the very end. And you can make it in any color combination you like. Just one color going from dark to light looks amazing. Or you could just stash bust and come up with all sorts of gorgeous hair ties just like this. I'm using size 4 worsted weight acrylics, just scraps. And the smaller the scrap is what I'm going to start with in the center. You'll also need some elastics. I'm just using 3 regular elastics. You can use hair ties or hair elastics. I find these don't last as long. They lose their elasticity, and then you've done all this beautiful work and it's all stretched out and you can't really use it. So I use regular rubber bands, and you just want to use 3. They also last super long and they hold your hair. They don't slide down. So grab your 3 elastics, your crochet hook. I'm going to be using a 5.5 millimeter, but you could use a 5, you could use a 6, whatever goes along with your yarn. You'll need a pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in that last tail. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. So whatever size elastics you start with is the size your hair scrunchie is going to be. And you can decide how big your scrunchie is going to be. If you have a lot of hair, use bigger elastics so you can get a couple good wraps around your hair. And if you have thinner hair or finer hair, use smaller elastics. So you can just customize them whichever way. Just make sure you're using 3 of the same size elastic. So grab your first color and make a slip knot. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. Keep your tail just separate. Now put your hook into those 3 elastics. Grab your tail and the yarn and just slip stitch to get started. Like that. So we're working around those 3 elastics. Now we can drop our tail. We don't need it anymore. Chain 3. That counts as our first stitch. And we're going to go right in. We're not wrapping our yarn. We're going to do an extended single crochet. So this is kind of a fun way of doing a thin, not too bulky, but taller stitch. So it says the height of a half double, but it is thinner. It's not as bulky. So just bring your yarn back through, push everything up on your hook, wrap your yarn and take off 1 loop, and now wrap and take off 2 loops. So that is an extended single crochet. So into those elastics, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap and take off 1 loop, wrap and take off 2 loops. So bring your yarn back, wrap and take off 1 loop, wrap and take off 2 loops. Just like that. So we're just doing a little chain 1 before we do our single crochet. And that gives us a taller single crochet and also a thinner stitch along our yarn or along our elastics. It's thinner down here. So it's really nice for hair ties. Now I'm holding my elastic so I'm not letting them twist. You'll get better at it the more you make. It can twist, it's not going to be the end of the world, but if you can just pinch your elastics and just keep them in order, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to untwist so much at the end. Now how many stitches we're doing here, that depends on how ruffly you want your hair scrunchie to be. If you want it super fluffy, like this purple one, there's a lot of ruffle in there. I did a lot of stitches in the beginning. If you want it a little more thin or a little more flat, like this, less stitches in the beginning. So it's up to you how fluffy you want it. Let me show you both of these so you can see the difference. I put as many stitches as I could for this purple one, and I covered the elastic for this thinner one. So that part is up to you. I like it a little ruffly myself. But if you're making them for sale, just make sure the elastic is covered. So when it's not stretched, you don't want to be seeing the elastic. So pause the video and keep working along. An extended single crochet all the way around your elastics. When you get back to where we started over here, see it's twisted a little bit, don't worry about it. It's still going to be fine. It's all going to work out. But I'm just going to keep putting stitches all the way. And even when it gets touching, I'm going to put more in. See, it's touched like that. I'm going to put a couple more. I'll put like 2 more, just to make sure we get some extra ripple. Okay. So that's how I'm going to do mine. But you could slide your stitches back or stretch it open a bit and put some more single crochets in there just like that, or extended single crochets, just by giving a little stretch. Like that. So that's good for mine. I haven't worked over my tail, so it's just hanging out there. So now we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain to join. So just pop your hook in and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn and cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail just to knot. So there's our last tail. Now our first tail, I'm just going to go into one of those stitches. Any stitch, doesn't matter, anywhere near that where we finished, and just bring that yarn up like that. So it's through a different stitch, but very close. And now I'm just going to knot them. So I'm going to do a loose knot, and then the second one, I'm going to pull it a bit tighter. And the third one, I'm really knotting it like that. And now one tail is going to go forward and one tail is going to go back, especially if you don't want to sew in your tails. If you do want to sew in your tails, go ahead. Absolutely welcome to. So now a few stitches ahead, I'm just going to grab that one tail and bring it through just so it's over my work, I don't forget. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other tail after. It's about 4 stitches after, I guess, into that back loop, just like that. And now the second color, I'm just going to start a little bit before. I don't want all my tails in the same spot. So I'm just going to put my hook into any stitch and grab my next color. Put a loop on your hook. Now you want to leave a longer tail here, about 8 or 9 inches. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and now we're going to chain 3 with both strands as well. 1, 2, and 3, just like that. So that counts as our first stitch and a chain 3. Now you can drop your tail, and into the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet, like that. Chain 3. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Chain 3, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Chain 3, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And when you get to that tail, just work over it. So chaining 3 and 1 single crochet into the next stitch, working over your tail when you get to it, chaining 3 and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And you want to do that all the way around. When you get to your join, if in doubt, yes, it's a stitch. The more the merrier. So single crochet before, chaining 3, single crochet into that chain where we joined, or wherever. It doesn't have to be perfect, like that. And then chain 3 and single crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet, and then chain 3 and single crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to do this all the way around, just making these little loops, starting our ruffle. So each of these stitches gets a single crochet and a chain 3. If in doubt at the join, put in an extra one. It's going to be fine. So work all the way around, doing your single crochet and chain 3 into each stitch, and I'll meet you when you get back over here where we began. So there's my last single crochet into my last stitch, chain 3. We're going to work in to the legs right here to join. So just into that first stitch. So into the legs, slip stitch to join, chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail just to work in a bit with your hook. Bring your yarn through and snug your slip knot down to secure. And now we're just going to work it backwards, back a little bit. So just going into a loop and dragging it through. I want to go all the way down. And then we want to go back up, just so it's in the opposite direction, like that. So now when we work over it, we can cut off those 2 tails. You are welcome to sew them in, but I am going to be cutting them off. So now find any loop a little bit away from those tails, and just pop your hook into any space, any one of those loops, and grab your next color. Again, start with a longer tail, maybe around 8 or 9 inches. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and chain 3 with both strands as well. 1, 2, and 3. Now into the same space, 1 single crochet. Chain 3. Into the next space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, and 1 single crochet into the same space. So for this round, we're doing 2 single crochets into each of these loops. So chain 3 to get to the next loop, and into the loop, single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet. Chain 3, jump to the next loop, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, and chain 3. Into the next loop, we're doing the same thing. Single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, and chain 3. So each of these loops is getting 2 single crochets, and there's a chain 3 in between all of them. So single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3. So you can pause the video and just keep working around, doing that repeat into each loop. So single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, and chain 3 into each loop all the way around. And I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get back to where we started, do your chain 3, and we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to slip stitch into those legs to join. Just into the legs, slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to weave in. Pull your hook up, your yarn through, snug that down, and now we're going to work this tail backwards a little bit, just into those 1 strand of your chain. Just work it all the way back to that single crochet. Is down in that valley, and then bring it back. So when we bring it back, we could just pop into the center of that loop and just bring it back. So it goes forward and back, and then when we work over it, it's gonna be stuck right there. So now pick a different loop and we can join our next color. It doesn't matter which kind of loop you're going into, the skinny one or the big one. Doesn't matter. We're working into all of them the same for the next row. So just pop your hook in and grab your next color. So pop your hook into any of these spaces. It doesn't matter if it's the skinny one with 2 single crochets or the one that jumps between the loops. It doesn't matter. All of these chain 3s, we're treating them the same for this round. So just pop your hook into any loop and put a loop of your new color on your hook, again, about 9 inches or so. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and chain 3 with both strands as well, just to work that tail in. And you can do your single crochet with both strands of yarn, or just with one, you can drop your tail. It depends on how long your tail is, but I think I can finish that single crochet with my tail. And now chain 3. And now into the next space, single crochet and chain 3. And into the next space, single crochet and chain 3. So this is what we're doing for our last round. Each space or each loop gets a single crochet and a chain 3. Now you can pause the video, just keep working around, single crochet and chain 3 into each loop all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get back to where we started, we're just doing that same 1 single crochet with a chain 3 all the way until we've done it into each of those loops. And now we're going to slip stitch into those legs to join. So slip stitch into the legs and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn. Now this is going to be a tail long enough to sew in with a needle. This is the one we do have to sew in. So grab your needle. And the chain ahead, that's our fat one, where we did with 2 strands. So I'm going to go backwards into the chain before the join and just bring that yarn through. If you're using a sharp tip needle, it's pretty great. You don't have to worry about it coming out, but you could just go back in the opposite direction, and that also secures your yarn, even if you're using a blunt tip needle. Give that a little bit of a stretch, and now we can cut off that tail, and we can cut off the rest of our tails. There is your super fabulous hair scrunchie. Isn't that adorable? I really like those colors. And if you want it more ruffly, you just put more stitches in the beginning. If you want it flatter, put less. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that next video up there, and stay hooked. Oh, this is really cute. This is the cutest. I love that. Stay hooked.